Hi everyone, I'm going to have a go at another Christmas card design today. So I'm thinking a hare in a misty sort of Christmas morning scene. I've drawn out a little shape of a hare, so basically two ears, and it's going to be a silhouette really of the body. So just nice and simple. I'll talk you through the colours as go. These are Frisk watercolour cards. You can use any watercolour cards. I'll pop a link in the comments for them. And off we go. So I'm going to pop some water on. We're going to vignette out at the corners so that we do at the edges, so that we don't end up with having to do a border. So we're going to wet the whole paper. And I'm going to come on with a round number 10. Dip in my brush into the water, and then I've squirted out some yellow ochre. So I'm going to come in first of all with some yellow ochre. Keep remembering that you're going to vignette this out. So I'm doing a vertical stroke. So you don't want to go all the way to the edge of the paper. You want it to have a nice soft effect. If you didn't have yellow ochre, you could use raw sienna. This one's rose. You could use rose madder. You could use alizarin crimson. So we're just going to pop some of this through. Just getting a nice sky into the background. This one here is a little bit of cobalt blue. So these are all colours that I've just dabbed into and mixed with a tiny dab of water. There's not much to them. All the neat on the palette. You can see that yellow ochre's neat on the palette. So again, I'm not going too far with that. I want it to fade out. If I get to the edge of the water, I'm going to end up with a hard edge. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to swap down to around number 6. I've got some sepia here. So this is neat on my palette. It's gone a bit hard, so I'm just having to work it a little bit. And I'm going to pop some brambly bits in. Again, I'm not going too far down. I want it to vignette. I want it to be nice and soft. I also don't want to lose my hair. So just being very careful. Popping up some bits that are coming a bit higher. Random's always good. And the hair is a little bit hidden now. Okay, I have got a 5p piece, a small coin would do, and I'm going to wrap tissue around it. So I've got the 5p. I'm going to wrap tissue around it. I'm going to place it on and twist a little bit so that I get a nice sunrise happening in there. If I want it to be a little bit snowy, I want a little bit of salt, just normal table salt, and I can sprinkle that on. Then I can let that background dry. Okay, so that's dried nicely. I've got some really lovely snow there as well, and I've just rubbed the salt off. So I'm going to pick up my round number 6, and I can just about see the silhouette of the hair. So I'm just going to start to bring that in now. So I've popped a little bit of water. I'm going to work with the yellow ochre. I'm just going to get a nice shape. A little bit of water, just giving me a bit more time really. I'm using my round number 6, but you can use whichever brush you're comfortable with at that stage. Even a tiny little detailer. So I'm just looking for... So here's my tiny little detailer. So if I want to pull any little bits out, so this is just pulling the wet paint, just going to make the hair a little bit more fluffy in places. So just flicking out. I'm going to just break the edge. Just bringing it down. It's still plenty wet enough. If I bring that detailer into the dark now, so this is a sepia, I can start to drop some of this in. So I don't want to eliminate all of the light. So I'm keeping the dark to one side, and by taking it in with the detailer, it's not going to go too far because it's only this is a number 2. So there's no risk of it going very far at all, really. Also, yellow ochre is opaque, so it's going to mean that it's got less room to move as well. When it's transparent, it tends to flow a little bit more. When it's opaque, it tends to sit a little bit more. So we've chosen the right paint for the job, really. Just taking little bits in. So I want the hair to be quite dark, but I don't want to eliminate all the light. So if I run this bit down this side, I'm going to get the 2 ears showing. And a little bit more dark in places. I come back to my round number 6. Just going to load this up with a bit of sepia, and I want some sharper grasses or branchy bits. Just to come down that side. If I wet my brush, then just wet it at the bottom, that's going to soften all that in. So it sits quite nicely. So I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. And what I'm going to do is to make it a little bit more Christmassy, is to start to bring in a little bit of holly into the foreground. So I'm going to focus on doing the berries first. I'm going to pop a couple of berries in. So this is with cadmium red or Windsor red, or even a little bit of alizarin crimson would work. You just want a nice round berry and then a tiny dot of light into it. Now the sepia has taken the light away a little bit, but we can come back in with a white pen. I'm just going to take a little bit of the sepia in either side of those berries. I've got a mix here. This is a bit of viridian green and burnt sienna to make a natural looking green. I'm going to bring in holly leaves. Now this bit isn't essential, you don't have to have this. This is my artistic license and I'm bringing this in as an additional feature of the card. So the holly just works that sort of shape leaf, and then you need a couple in basically. I'm going to come this way. So I'm not skimping on the holly being there as a feature. In fact, I'm going to bring it round here. So it helps set these berries out a little bit more. Make this one a little bit bigger. We're going to lift the light out. Make them look a little bit snowy as well. Bring another holly leaf this side. So these can come straight onto dry, and they can come over your vignetted area, so you're sort of getting an overlap. They actually work quite nicely. Then I'll pick up some more of the cadmium red and add another berry. And a bit of the sepia onto the bottom of the berry. Get that to lift. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so I've dried that off and it's looking really nice. I'm just going to lift out a little bit of light onto these holly leaves. So this is with my round number 6, and I'm just taking a little bit of water on, just in places, just to lift out the light. Just dab, you can see that light appearing. So just a little bit, just a little highlight on each leaf. Could lift a little bit out on the hair as well. Not a lot, but just a little bit. I'll just do a little bit there. So this is just a damp brush, lifting little bits out. Okay, what I've got now, and there's lots of combinations you could use. So this is pearlescent, FW pearlescent acrylic ink. If I just get a little bit, I'm just going to pop a bit on my palette somewhere just so you can see. It's opaque, it is acrylic, so you do need to wipe it off after. But it is really pretty. You could use iridescent medium, which I've used in some of the other ones. You could use a bit of a pearlescent watercolour paint. There's lots on the market. It's just what you've got lying around, really. So if I come in with this, I can start to create some frostier branches over the top, which I think are really pretty, and it gives a more festive feel. So I'm using a rigger. And just putting some frosty branches in. It's just got a really nice sheen to it. Hopefully you can see that on camera. You can also use it within your berries to highlight those. You could also use it within the holly leaves. So if it's watered down, it will give a little bit of a shimmer. If it's used thickly, it'll create a really nice highlight, a frosty highlight, which looks a little bit like snow. So these bigger ones I'm just making a little bit more frosty. It is acrylic, so you do need to make sure you've washed it off your brush and off your palette after, if you do decide to use this. But it is very, very effective. You could even add a few little bits of frostiness onto the hair. Okay, so I'll dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. And you can see that it's got a really pretty frosty effect.